if you're in a dark space and then you shine light on something in that space, it suddenly gives it form that it didn't have before. Because when you're just looking at darkness, you don't see dimension. But when you add light, it hits something, but then the rest of the light keeps passing by if there's nothing else for it to hit. And so I love how in this photograph and in a lot of the photographs, I was in a dark room and we had a projector actually, and we projected images on my body. And and so the light from the projector would hit me, but there was nothing else in the room. And so the rest of that light would just dissipate, and what you had left was this form, which turned out was the shape of me. But
the Jordan form.
yes, the form of JOUR. Yeah. So, but what I really loved about that, and as I kind of dug deeper into my own self-analysis and of the art and everything, was that there are so many parts of you as a person, or of me as a person, that are in this shadow side, and we can shine light onto them and maybe see them mostly for what they are. But I love that there's like still lines, because you can't see everything.
Of course we can.
You know, and so there's some of it that's revealed, but it's only a piece of what I am and of who we are. And so I just thought that it was really poignant that there were these contrasts between how light hits something, but it's still never fully clear, but it's a lot more clear than it was before.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of what I was trying to reflect in the visual art.
Okay, let's see what light that sheds on each of the songs. So, Black Hole, you were talking about the contrast of minimalism and complexity, and I think that's Black Hole is very indicative of that.
Yes.
The record opens with your voice.
Yes.
And then more instrumentation comes in. And that's interesting with the idea of kind of like a vacuum, like we're in kind of a black hole.
Yeah.
But the song is saying loving you is a black hole. So given that this is going to be about dark and light, we start in a place of darkness.
Yeah.
Where you're the kind of candle that plays tricks, always reigniting the wick. So maybe a place of darkness where there is a little glimmers of light. How did this song announce itself to you as like the correct way to begin it?
You're actually pulling more meaning from it than I maybe even intended, but looking at it, you're right. Like it's totally makes sense. Like
it's before the light.
It's kind of like the earth was formless and empty. Like,
exactly.
You know,
and one's character, and because of certain interactions that one has had, like one has even less of a sense of one's own character because one's drawn into this black hole.
I think that you're right. I mean, it was written about, I mean, when I wrote it about a relationship I was in with someone where they wouldn't stop taking, and I was trying to be free from that relationship by walking away and all these different things, but like they kept like, you know, like digging in their claws and like pulling me back in and reeling me back in, and I kept falling for it over and over again, and it just felt like it was just sucking the life out of me. And and even when you think about like a black hole in the event horizon, they say like when you get to that point, it's the point of no return. And you know, I just felt like I kept getting closer and closer to that point where I was like, I need to get out of this. And so it felt like it's a starving fire, a vacuum soul, loving you as a black hole. However, I, in retrospect, too, find that can apply to a lot of things and not just people. You know, there's things...
We're drawn to things that
that can take and take and take from you, you know, and I can think there's times, I mean, to be honest, where I feel like music is a black hole where it just takes and it takes, and you give it everything you have, and you give it all your money and all your energy and all your passion, and then sometimes it doesn't give back the way that you hoped, or
aligned with your values and like what you want to do, and it's like you're creating this meaningful thing that's good for you and good for others. Still, the act of being the working musician can still be can still like not destroy you necessarily, but it can feel. Be the black hole.
Yeah, I think that the black hole isn't necessarily a place you are forever. It's like a state of a place that you are in a moment, and whether it lasts for a month or a year or whatever, it can be a person that's being the black hole in your life, or it can be a passion, or it can be, I mean, honestly, it could be even addiction, it could be even a litany of things. But I like to keep it vague enough because I want people who hear these songs to find their meaning in it. It's not important to me as much that they relate to or feel my story. I want someone to hear their story.
Well, that's why
that music or in those words.
That's why I think the light imagery works so well, because it's pretty universal.
Yeah.
For some reason, this has been striking me a lot recently. For some reason, like we all, like humans seem to. There's a lot of overlapping consensus regarding like the image of the sun, the sunrise, for example. And I like that the record begins with Black Hole and then ends with Wandering, and in Wandering, the hunger is a magnet, and like the moon and tide by night, I'm wandering and tethered to the sunrise. I'll swing left and right until the daylight. So we begin being pulled into this black hole, and we end like the moon and tide by night, but tethered to the sunrise. What is the significance of that in light of the fact that you're exploring contrast and the interplay between contrast?
If you're asking specifically about wandering, that I think for me it was about something different than Black Hole, but also another moment of just feeling in between. And I think that's what, if I were to pick a different word to describe the record than chiaroscuro, I would pick the word in between.
In between, okay.
Because I feel in between all these pulling tensions. And one of those things is feeling like there's hope and light, but feeling like there's also this darker thing that's pulling me in the other direction, or that there's doubts, a lot of like doubt, and then but hope mixed together.
There seems to be a lot of hope in wandering insofar as you're tethered to the sunrise. Like if you're tethered to the sunrise, it's like even if there is the darkness, you know how you're oriented. There's a sense of direction.
Wandering was an interesting song. It took me a long time to write it. I wrote it in pieces, and I had the verses before I had the chorus. I knew that I had all these feelings of being stuck in between, like this light and dark, or this doubt and hope. But I felt certain that there would be light on the other side, like that I could walk through a time of doubt or a season of confusion in my life and have confidence that there would again be a time of peace and hope. And so I looked ahead to that. And
trying to capture that sensation specifically in this song.
Yes, because I think as humans there's nothing more uncomfortable than being in between on things.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the waiting that we experience in life. I mean, the thing I hate about patience, it's good to develop patience, but you can only be patient when you're waiting. And so you can practice being loving when you're not in love. You can practice, being all kinds of things when you're not like in the act of doing something, but patience is the only thing that you can develop by waiting for something. And so I think an in-between state of mind can be really agonizing because you can't settle into anything. And so that's where a lot of these songs came from, was feeling in between, like I didn't have a place to land. And so I would look at the darkness and I would look at the light, and I was never in complete darkness, but I was never in a complete place of light, and be that your mood, be it like depression or just in relationships, or just feeling like I understood what my purpose and destiny was in my work, or, a litany of things, just the things that come and go in your life. I had like this recurring theme going on of just not feeling like I belonged anywhere.
If we could just choose right now, do I want to be in the season of confusion and in between, or do I want to be in the season of things being resolved?
Right.
We choose to be in the season of things being resolved.
Of course.
But is there some celebration even, is that too strong a word, of the capacity to be in and no one is in, and to be at peace with, and to grow from knowing that one is within the in-between?
Yeah, so if you go back to the image that's on the cover, I think it's interesting you say that, because I think when you finally get through the music into the artwork, you discover that there's beauty in the in-between.
Yeah.
And you want to capture it and savor it in a way and appreciate it because, looking back like on life, I mean, if I were to be asked, like, would you change anything about how your life has gone? Like, there's certainly things that I would love to have not have happened. Mm-hmm. But arriving to where I am now, like, in recognizing life as a journey, I appreciate the journey.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, having the record finished and completed and, in its physical form, like right here in my hands with the pictures and the words and all the names of the people who helped and, like, the design and the list of the songs and the colors and just all of the pieces, like, right here, it encapsulates a piece of my journey and a piece of my life that's brought me to where I am today. There is a sense of closure of having this completed, having done a release show, having started to push the record out to people to, like, have and behold, where I can feel like a part of my journey is ending.